gonna drop the ball. I can see it fall from a blood red sky. We got to fight it all. Race until we see the whites of their eyes. When the rain starts pouring down, revolution's such a lovely sound. I can see the sharks are closing in, and there's blood in the water now. So what you fighting for? This is where we draw the line. This is where we draw the line. I hear your battle cry. Let me hear your battle cry. Let me hear your battle cry. Let me hear your battle cry.
Oh, hi everyone, and welcome into Behind the Helm. If you want to watch this show live, tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Make sure to leave a comment down below, and we'll respond live. As always, find it, like it, share it, follow it. But if you want to watch the show after the fact, head on over to YouTube or on Facebook, where the shows are cataloged, and you can see all the comments and notes and still watch the show and any bonus content. If you just want to listen to the show, head on over to Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, wherever you can find a podcast, and just search up Behind the Helm. Enjoy the show. Episode number 4. That's right, number 4, Season 2, Episode 4 here on Behind the Helm. Make sure you smash that like button, share this feed, do all those algorithmic things to help get this information out there. You never know who it might help. So far this season, we've been talking about moving and following my process, eventually moving to Spain, which is much farther in the future, and we've hit a few topics. We're getting into the role now, and, last week we talked about orders, how you get them, where you find them, how you read them, and what you need to do. So what happens after that? Well, we talked about a couple different things with that, and one of them was setting up your move. So we're going to be going over some of that stuff today. Oh, Petty Officer Levex out there. What's going on, man? Good to hear from you. But before we get into that, I just want to say, if you're somebody who celebrates Hanukkah, if you are of the Jewish faith, hey, happy Hanukkah. That's tonight, first night of Hanukkah. So I have something special for you. It may or may not flag this video, but that's okay. We're going to play it anyway. Just for you, little Adam Sandler Hanukkah song. So happy Hanukkah to all of you out there that celebrate Hanukkah, because tonight is the first night, so that's great. All right, so let's get into this. Again, smash that like button. Make sure you share this feed. We're going to be going over a lot, and anybody in the comments out there, or anybody who watches this later or listens to it on the audio podcast, by all means, if you have anything to add that may be helpful to somebody working on a move, make sure that you add it. comment it. You know, you don't know who you're going to help. Petty Officer Levesque said, got to do a pre-deployment video. I leave January 10th. Oh, you bet we will, man. We need to get together because I'd love to do one just about our different experiences with recruiting now that we're both officially out of that. And just as a note, again, this show is 100% my opinion. It does not reflect upon the Navy or my parent command. It is mine and mine alone. So any opinions or anything that I state cannot be held to the Navy or my command. It's simply my opinion and experience. So let's get into moving. So we've talked about the different types of orders you get. You have, different stops, I stops, different TDY where you may be going somewhere for a little bit for school, but then you have what's called PCS, or permanent change of station. And that's when you're going to move. Now, there's a lot that goes into that. How do we do that? And are there different types of moves? Yeah, there are. There are two, technically three if you want to get into the weeds about it, but what are they? So you have your HHG and your PPM. Great, more acronyms. I know, we love them. So what is HHG? Well, that's your household goods move, and then your PPM is your personally procured move. All right, so one, the government's going to move all of your stuff with a moving company. The other, you're going to do it all yourself. And we'll get into that a little bit. The third type is kind of a partial PPM, or kind of a mix of both. And we won't get too deep into that, as you can look into it more. But what I want to go over today are the different resources that you can use, where you should go, and just some tips and things that I noticed over this last move that should help you, as well as talk about, just some things that you should know that you can't move, and things to watch out for. Somebody out there said, glad to see some training on the complicated process of PCSing. I appreciate you. Thank you very much, Holden. I'm trying my best. It's not going to be the best information or all of it, and that's why I look for anybody else to put it in there. Just like with orders, last week can be very, very confusing just trying to look through orders. So hopefully this information does help somebody. So let's get right into it. We talked about the types of moves. I do want you to know there's going to be some bonus content today. So if you're on the audio platforms after the fact and you're not watching this on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch and you're not watching it live, you should probably go watch it because there's something pretty cool happening this Saturday we need to talk about, maybe watch some videos about, and that's going to be the bonus content today. However, let's get into some of these resources and what we need to do. So we got our orders. We know we're going to PCS. We're going to be moving. So what do we do next? Well, one of the big things we talked about with orders is being proactive, right? Making sure that you don't wait to the last minute, because as soon as you have those orders, you can start applying for things, setting stuff up. One of the biggest resources is going to be one that I talk about all the time, and I'm going to pull it up. Let's see. All the time, and that would be Military One Source. Shocker. I know, I talk about it all the time. But moving your personal property articles. So there are multiple different things here that we can look at from them to kind of help you get you started, right? As well as other information, but we're going to kind of go through this. So just an overview: ensure each step of your move is successful by being prepared and informed. Browse our resources, fact sheet, library, and customer service pages before getting started. The big thing is when you're ready to schedule your move, you need to go to this other site, which is called DPS. So if we go into DPS, like here's DPS, all right, you will have to register as a customer, and that's fine. You can register whether you're going to use a certificate, which is talking about your CAC or military ID, or you can register with a user ID and password. So spouses are able to do this as well as the service members. But with DPS, this is where you're going to go to set up that move. We're going to look at some FAQs later, frequently asked questions about moves. And here's a big one before we even get to that. Okay, well, I have my PCS orders. I know when I'm moving, but I don't necessarily have housing set up yet. So because I don't have an address, maybe I just have like a state. Do I have to have that address to be able to set up a move, or can I do it prior to? Yeah, absolutely. You can get it all set up, ready to go, and then when you get that address, you can add that to that move. So that's no problem. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and log in here just to show you something. Yep. If it decides it wants to today. It may or may not. It's been a little finicky. So if it does, I just want to show you. We'll come. All right, great. Well, anyway, we'll get back to that. Let's just go back to Military One Source for now, because apparently nothing wants to work, even though I preset it up. So looking at Military One Source, you can notice that there are a bunch of tabs here for this, and there's a bunch of different stuff that you can use. So personal property resources, fact sheet library, customer service contacts so that you can talk to people. And then up here, we can go to Mill Life Guides. And what that's going to pull up is different things that you can watch, look at, and do just to give you advice. So arranging a personal property shipment. So it'll kind of give you some tips. Global household goods contract move, managing your moving days, and understanding moving claims. There's different types of claims that are for after the fact, which we'll get to in a little bit. You can also come up here. There's benefits, and some of these have more tabs than just one, but here it lists a few different benefits that are available. Military dislocation allowance. When they move you, you actually get extra pay to just help fund just some of your move. What it says exactly is dislocation allowance partially reimburses service members for incurred household moving expenses during a PCS. It's great. Monetary allowance in lieu of transportation, passenger and pet transportation for PCS moves. And I do believe, don't quote me on this, but I saw something come out as of January 2024. There's going to be a kind of a dislocation allowance for pet owners, because there's cost involved in that. And it's never been something that you were, given extra money for. But now they're going to start doing that. So that's great. PCS entitlements, what you're entitled to, relocation assistance programs, expert staff at Military One Source, and your installation, military and family support centers can help you with your move. So that's good to know as well. And then, of course, it has resources, which there's a few pages of this, I believe. Let's get it pulled up. It's being a little slow today. Go figure, right? All right, so there's actually a couple podcasts you can listen to as well, specifically on certain things. Conducting personnel or personally procured moves, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Containerization of your personal property. And then there's articles as well, websites, Defense Transportation Regulations, Defense Travel Management Office, DPS, which we already talked about a little bit, moving under the Global Household Goods Contract, moving with mold management, PCS, my POV. So that's POV is personally owned vehicle or your car, personal property customer service contract, so forth and so on. And there's a couple pages. We're not going to go through both, but you can. And then there's products as well. So let's get that pulled up. The different products are just some of the fact sheets and stuff so that you can download them and print them out. And then articles, and in articles there's an FAQ, which we're going to go into just a little bit later. All right, the other places that you can go, so here's DPS. It finally came up for me. Let me close this move. So here's DPS. This is your welcome page. Once you're in here, you can see I've had multiple moves, but the big thing is these two buttons right up here at the top: start a new move or claim history. I was going to hit start a new move and go through it with you guys, but I mean, that would be kind of silly, because once I came up here to the top, you can see you have home, your profile, documents, useful links, quick reference guides, and it has shipment information, and it talks about, how you create a ppm shipment and how to create a shipment. And when you click that, a training comes up, which is a PowerPoint, but you can just scroll through and it walks you through step by step on the site, showing you what each thing means. And it even gives you a scenario here talking about an E6 moving, but it's just giving you a general scenario and showing you how you would schedule your move. Okay, so this is a great resource. We're not going to go through it step by step because it's right there. You can look through it step by step, and that's right on DPS. All right, so that's DPS. The other one is NavSup, NAVSUP.Navy.mil. NavSup is also a place, a website that has a lot of great information, moving information, different things to look at. And I would tell you, the more you look at, the better off you are. Okay, there's never too much information. Now, you might miss some stuff, but that's part of the reason I'm going to go over this with you. All right, so I pulled up a few of the fact sheets, and I also have a few other ones right in front of me that I didn't pull up, but I'm going to go over with you as well. So again, you're here on Behind the Helm, episode 4. We're talking about military move, and specifically we're talking about CONUS, which is within the continental U.S. The point of this season is to do an CONUS move, and how that works, being outside of the continental U.S., moving overseas. However, since I had a stop along the way, we can also talk about PCSing and a CONUS move as well, again, being within the continental U.S. So make sure you smash that like button, share this feed. Hopefully this helps somebody, and it's just great information for anybody who might have this coming up. So there are a few things to know for shipment guidelines. There are certain high value items that you actually can't ship. There are unauthorized items that you can't ship, and the list is a little extensive, but honestly, it makes sense. So the high value items that must be moved by the owner includes currency, coins, jewelry, rare documents, documents related to identity. So like your passport, social security card, driver's license, etc., birth certificates. These are things that you should hand carry anyway. Let's be honest, you don't want that shipped in a box, and you may need that. So you should hand carry that stuff anyway. Currency and coins, I'll tell you, it really kind of just depends. Behind me, and it was on my desk, I have a little thing that has some of my, what I call funny money, or just money from around the world. And I mean, they packed it. But those are things like, don't have $1,000 in cash that's stuffed in your sock drawer shipped. Like that is on you. Okay. But you can also register high value items. So other valuable items may be included in your shipment, but you should also record these on a high value inventory form. This form is in addition to the standard household goods inventory, where they will also appear. High value items are defined as articles which have a value greater than $100 per pound per article, and include items such as, these are just examples: silverware, like real silverware, silver service sets, crystal, figurines, china, oriental rugs, tapestries, furs, art objects, manuscripts, comic books or baseball cards, stamp collections, like collectible ones, right? Your 50-cent comic book that your kid is like written in and stuff, like you can ship that. Okay, it's not a high value item, but understand that you need to place that on a high value list so that they're aware of it. All right, and that just helps in the event that something goes wrong in your claims process. Now, there are unauthorized items that you need to be aware of. And unauthorized items consist of either hazardous items that cannot be moved, or items which carry a high risk because of their sensitivity to change in temperature. So sensitive items would include plants, animals, wines, prescription drugs. Okay, so yeah, I mean, a live plant, they're not going to ship live animals. Wines, we'll talk about alcohol in a little bit because it's also on the hazardous items saying it's unauthorized, but there's a whole different thing about that. We'll talk about that. Wine, the big thing is if it's like an expensive wine, temperature changes can affect the bouquet, right? So it's just saying like, look, you can't claim your bottle of 1986 wine that you had and it got messed up because of temperature change. They let you know that right from the get. Now, as far as hazardous items, most of what you'll see is anything that's already opened, okay? So over-the-counter drugs, stuff like that, most of the time they will ship it, but let's say you have like cough syrup and the seal's already broken, they may not ship it. Or cooking materials such as like olive oil, stuff like that. If the seal is still there, they may move it. If the seal's broken, they may not. And I say may because sometimes it depends on the shipping company. Okay, but here are some of the hazardous materials. Combustible liquids such as alcohol or alcoholic beverages, antifreeze, any corrosive liquids, acids of any kind, batteries with acid in them, disinfectants, flame retardants, rust preventers, paints, explosives, ammunition, black powder, blasting caps, fireworks, and it goes on. And it really makes a lot of sense. Like bleach, flammables, signal flares, lacquers, stuff like that. Okay, compressed gases, things of that nature, and aerosol cans. They do not want to ship aerosol cans. Most companies won't ship aerosol cans. So just understand that. Those are just some guidelines for you on that. All right. Now, here's the thing. How much can I move? Is there a limit? Yes. What happens if I go over that limit? Well, let's talk about that. So there are a few things. There's a list for authorized household goods weight allowance, and it is dependent upon your rank. Now, I know some people may argue that, right? Hey, I'm an E3 or an E4. I have 4 kids, and this E7 chief that doesn't have, let's say, any kids, he gets a higher weight limit. Well, I mean, it is what it is. I didn't write it. It's just what it is. Okay. Officers get more too. So apparently officers just own more stuff. But let's give an example. So for myself, an E7, it has with dependents, without dependents, and then TDY or temporary, which is obviously way less. So let's talk about with dependents. So you're married, you have kids. For an E7 or a chief, it's 13,000 pounds. All right. That's a lot, but it does add up. So how do you know? What do you do? Well, good news is that on DPS in those resources, there is a weight estimate calculator. And basically what it does is it has you list check boxes for especially like large, heavy items. And it has most of them listed, beds, couches, desks, things of that nature that will allow you to kind of get an estimate of what your weight would be. So what happens is they weigh your shipment after the fact, and it has to be under that amount. If it is over that amount, you, as the service member, may incur some extra charge. There are different things that go into this. All right. There are what's called Pro Gear. So Pro Gear, you get an extra weight for that. What is Pro Gear? Pro Gear is specifically stuff for your job. And that includes you and your spouse. The weights are different, but if your spouse is a doctor and has specific, stuff that they have to bring with them, or a dental hygienist or something like that, that type of gear specific to their job is separate. That weighs separate and is added into that weight. Same for you. If you have specific gear, a.k.a. your military stuff, that Pro Gear will be weighed separately, and you have a different allowance for that. Okay. There's also one on the FAQs, which is asked, and let me look at it, and then we just won't pull it up after the fact, because there was a question about firearms, but more specifically about gun safes. Let's be honest. If you own guns and you have a gun safes are heavy, right? So because I'm trying to be safe and I have this gun safe, does that mean that I am, going to be penalized? Like, now I have this heavy thing. And of course, I'm not going to be able to find it right away. So, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Hold on a sec. All right. Do gun safes count towards my household goods weight limit? It's a good question. All right. So just so you know, depending on where you're moving to, like here on this military base, you can have firearms, but maybe you're not moving on base where you absolutely can. So can I move my gun safe? How does that add up? Effective as of May 2nd of 2022, you are now allowed to ship empty gun safes not to exceed 500 pounds in addition to your prescribed household goods weight allowance. So if you have a gun safe, if it's less than 500 pounds, or if it's more than 500 pounds, it's just going to add into it, but they're going to give you an extra 500 pounds because of that gun safe. So that's good to know, right? And we'll kind of talk about guns and stuff here coming up as well. But I just wanted to let you know that there are weight limits, and those are things that you should know. And there's a whole list, like I said, officer and enlisted, and it depends on your rank. And it's just to kind of help you plan. All right, I have a pretty large house, a lot of stuff, and quite honestly, we did not come close to ours. So most of the time, you don't really have to worry about that. Now, in the first thing we were talking about, we discussed the fact that alcohol is prohibited. I have a bar in my house, and although I had an empty the bar party before I left, I was still left with quite a bit of alcohol that was sealed, and they shipped it. They cannot ship unsealed. It has to still be sealed. But there's, and I don't have this one pulled up, but I do have it in front of me. So prohibited items in alcoholic beverages, there are certain ones they can't ship. So beverages containing wildlife or wildlife parts. What? What does that mean? Okay, so such as snakes, scorpions, stuff like that, right? If it has wildlife in it, they can't ship it sealed or not. They just can't. So if you have that, they're not going to ship that. Beverages with agricultural products such as root products, beverages carbonated or under pressure to include champagne, pressurized beer products, and shuhais. So basically, if it's pressurized because of temperature change, stuff like that, they don't want to ship that for obvious reasons. Federal IRS excise tax rates on alcohol and beer, it lists that. Disclaimer: customers and Border Protection District directors have wide discretion whether or not a particular shipment is in fact for personal use only. What that's saying is if you're shipping cases and cases of alcohol, they can say, okay, well, you have to pay taxes on this because they don't see it as personal use. Okay, but you can ship alcohol. As far as CONUS, CONUS, it really depends, a little different, but we'll get to that much later in the season. There are helpful links that you can go to when it comes to that stuff. So like state alcohol beverage control boards, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. ports of entry, contact, stuff like that. Now, why would you need to know state alcoholic beverage control boards? Let me give you an example. I'm here in Dahlgren, Virginia. In Virginia, it's different than what I came from in Indiana. In Indiana, you can go, say, to Walmart, right? And you can get beer and wine. Go to the Walmart here in Virginia. You can get beer and wine. But also in the grocery store, you can buy alcohol, like bottled alcohol. In Virginia, you cannot. You have to go to alcohol stores, liquor stores. You have to go to their ABCs or on base. But, so that's a difference. here's another big difference. In Indiana, sometimes, especially in the fall time, I like to make an apple pie moonshine. I don't use actual moonshine, but I use something called Everclear. And some of you might have heard of it. Some of you might not. It's a grain alcohol, very, very high proof. The first time I lived in Virginia, I wanted to make some, and I went to the liquor store and said I was looking for Everclear, and they said that you cannot buy it without a special license. And I asked what the special license was for, and they told me it's for cleaning. I said, well, in Indiana, we drink it. But I was trying to find it exactly. I couldn't find it before the show, but I was talking to a few people, and I believe it's anything that's 140 proof and above. Might be 130. Like, you can find 100 proof stuff, but like, you can't find Everclear. You can't buy like Bacardi 151. So knowing the state alcohol laws could be helpful too. I mean, have I brought Everclear to Virginia before? Maybe, but I'm just saying you're supposed to have a special license for that. So the states do have that. So you can ship alcohol, even though that says you can't, you can. So I'm not exactly sure why it says that, even though you can. And of course, it says that you have specific responsibilities that you need to have when it comes to shipping alcohol. Research all requirements to ship alcohol for the U.S. Again, talking about that state stuff, right? Contact state alcohol beverage control boards, or ABCs, before shipment, and it lists some other things. And then before you ship any alcohol, shipments of alcoholic beverages is at the TSP discretion. Okay, so they can decide. That's kind of why it says you can't ship it, but then you can, because depending on what it is, they can still say like, hey, look, we're not going to ship this. Okay. So understand that, kind of prepare an accurate inventory spreadsheet of the shipment to include the description, the type of alcohol, the quantity of each type, year of the vintage, total value of each bottle. Cause I mean, let's be honest, there are some alcoholic beverages out there that, I mean, it's kind of expensive. Total overall value in US dollars, alcoholic content by volume. And that has to do with, depending on where you're moving, if it's too high of an alcoholic volume, they may not be able to ship it. And there's just some different tips for that. So you can ship alcohol. You can find both yes and no on that. If you ask, there are people that'll tell you yes. There are people that'll tell you no. Okay. So a couple other things to know about household goods moves. Items associated with the home and personal effects belong to the customer and dependents on the effective date of the customer's orders. Only items that may be legally transported by commercial carriers are allowed. So what you need to understand is that it's the government moving you, okay? But it's contracted out to a local moving agency. Okay, so it's not like there's somebody in the Navy that their job is to move people. It's not a government truck showing up to move you. It's going to be like Allied Van Lines or Mayflower or one of these other companies, depending on, like, the last one for ours, the local one was, I think it's like TK Van Lines. It's going to go through the government, and then there are government contracts for local moving companies to come and move you. They are professional movers, and we're going to get to like the moving day kind of tips and things to look for and understand as well as I talked to my wife, just like her experience and anything that she had to add on it. And we're going to get to that. But a few things that household goods moves may include are weapons. Okay, so you can move weapons. Obviously, they have to be unarmed, things of that nature. You can move vehicles other than POVs. So motorcycles, mopeds, jet skis, it lists hang gliders, snowmobiles, golf carts, and their associated trailers can be moved. But you need to understand a couple things. One, this is going to add to your weight. Two, there are specific things that you need to look at for that. I'm not going to go into every one of them, but like you have a lawnmower and a weed eater, right? You have to drain the fluids. You have to drain the gas. If anything you have has an acid battery, that can't be moved. It all depends. Okay. So you have to go a little bit more in depth on that. And I'm going to tell you, I could get those answers for you, but there are just some things depending on your situation that you might have to look up separately. And don't hesitate to reach out to one of these places and ask to make sure, especially once you get the confirmation of who your local moving company is going to be. Because the last movers that came to our house, when we had spoke to them, and by we, I mean my wife, Claire, because I wasn't there, they told us, hey, there are certain things that we as a company would do, but under certain government contracts, they can't, right? So these are the type of things that you need to ask. But there are also things, and you can even move a boat, by the way, but it may result in excess cost because of the size. Household goods moves may not include, and again, some other things. It's a lot of the same stuff, but a big one's like live ammunition. You can't ship live ammunition. You can ship weapons. You can't ship live ammunition. Again, live animals, farming vehicles. You can't ship an airplane, apparently. So you can't do that, but and you can't ship POVs such as a car with that specific type of move. That is a whole separate thing, and it's in one of the FAQs, which we'll get to here in just a little bit, about a privately owned vehicle. So there are ways that you can do that. It talks about your entitlements, your weight restrictions. We already kind of talked about that. The excess cost. So here, since we talked about this, let me go into this. It is your responsibility to reimburse the government for any excess costs incurred by your shipment. You will be required to pay excess cost if you exceed your authorized weight allowance, if you choose to ship to other than an authorized place and it costs more to do so. Okay. If you request special services such as special routing, special loading, or any other services that are outside of ordinary rates. If you ship unauthorized articles in a shipment which are discovered after pickup, if you or your agent are not at the scheduled pickup or delivery address when the move arrives. Okay, so you may incur charges for that. Now, can you have items picked up from multiple locations? Yes, you can. However, that again it could go into that excess cost. You need to get with the local moving company that is assigned to you and make sure that it's not going to incur an extra cost. And it depends, right? Like if I'm moving stuff, hey, I have a storage unit in the same city that I live in, it's probably fine. But if it's like, hey, I have stuff in these 3 states, oh, well, okay, come on. Like, let's be honest, this is going to be extra cost. You can also have it dropped off to multiple locations, again, dependent on the moving company. But I did that when I had first moved to Indiana. They took some of my shipment to a storage unit and the rest of it to a house. So that can be done too. So let's see. Now, let's talk about move day. There are windows and things that you need to have in order to be able to move. So let's talk about the scheduling window, because this can be a little confusing. I don't necessarily agree with it. Okay, I'll give you my situation, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and flip over here. Now, this again is one of the information sheets that you can pull up, print out so that you have it. 7-day scheduling window for household goods pickup. What is the 7-day scheduling window? Also known as spread dates. This refers to the 7-day window during which your move company is required to pick up your shipment. This policy is designed to give you more control over requesting a specific date range to schedule your move. So what does that mean? That means that when you call to schedule your move, okay, you're going to give or calls you set up in DPS, you're going to give them a window of 7 days when you would like for your items to be picked up. Okay. So when they're going out for this contract, they're looking for a company that can pick it up in those days. All right. Now, after that, you have a window of 14 days for the shipment to arrive. All right. You have to choose a day 14 days out, depending on the length of the move. All right. But it can't be sooner than that. The reason I say that I don't necessarily agree with this, me personally, was we scheduled our move. They came and packed it out. They took it. They said it would be it was like a direct delivery. So they were picking it up, shipping it directly to Virginia. Obviously we weren't going to be there because we had to put a date 14 days prior to when we wanted to have our shipment delivered for it to be picked up. The problem with that is then you're kind of left with whatever you have. And, we've talked before about, depending on where you're at, having help from family or whatever, and certain bases, especially like here, Dahlgren, a lot of times, like MWR or the base itself will have different things like the pantry. They call it like the pantry, the sailor's pantry, stuff like that, where they have, pots, pans, sleeping mats, stuff like that, maybe even cots for you to use until your shipment gets in. But for them to tell me it was a direct delivery when I first talked to the third-party company, I was like, okay. So then I tried to talk with TSP to say, all right, well, if that's the case, if we're trying to move in Columbus Day in October, why can't we just have them pick up the week before instead of 14 days out so that we're not left with so little? And they just can't do it because then it's not guaranteed. So the next thing on here is pack out dates versus pickup dates. Your pack out dates are the days your movers will be in your home to pack your belongings and will always immediately precede your pickup date. Your pickup date is the day your moving company physically removes your belongings from your home. So they estimate this, all right? Once they do your assessment, which is all online now, like I had to open up all my cabinets. I was on a video with a guy just kind of going through the house, and based on the weight and what they see, they schedule a certain number of days for pack out and for pickup. So pack out, the crew's going to come in, they're going to pack all of your stuff, they're going to box it all up, you're going to have boxes everywhere. And then you're going to have pickup dates when they come with the truck and actually load everything onto it. All right. So it goes into a little bit about how will I know if my requested dates are approved? Can my pickup date change? It can. Does the 7-day window apply to all personal property shipments? 7-day window, so forth, so on. We're not going to go into all of this. So there are numbers to call, but that's just a little information for you. Now, probably one of the best things that's on there is a Navy household goods, HHG again, moving checklist outbound. All right, cool. So we have a checklist, things that we can look at. I'm going to kind of run through this and talk about it a little bit. Obviously, for my viewing viewers, you can see it. For my listening viewers, you can't, so that's why I'm going to talk about it a little bit. But again, these resources are available to you so that you can not only just see them, but then you can print them out so that you have it. It's, a good thing to have so you can start working on these things while you're working your move. As soon as you get the opportunity to schedule that move, and, there are things that you can start working on right then. There's some things you kind of got to wait till closer to the move, but absolutely it's a good thing to do. Again, thank you. You're here on Behind the Helm, episode number 4 of season 2. We're talking about moving, specifically CONUS within the United States, doing a PCS move, things to look out for, different resources, as well as, some things that I've noticed and some tricks, stuff like that. So upon receipt of your orders, decide your move type. Okay, so we talked about the different types. So the household goods move is what we're talking about the most. Again, a household goods move is where they come they move you. But what about the other? What about that ppm? I'm going to move it myself. All right. There's a lot less you have to do, because then it's on you. You're packing it all, you're doing it all, you're moving it. And depending on what you use, if you're just loading a truck, you need to get a weight of that truck empty and a weight of it loaded. And that doesn't necessarily have to do with your max weight amount, but it has to do with how you'll get paid out. So instead of the government paying a moving company, what they're going to do is they're going to pay you for moving your own things. And it is based on the weight, and some other factors as well. I don't like to do that because, quite personally, I hate packing. And I will tell you that when these packers come into your home, they are professional movers. Like, that's what they do. Quite honestly, they use a lot better boxes and more boxes than I would. They use a ton of like paper, stuff like that, packing materials, like for instance, like clothes on hangers, right? They use the big wardrobe boxes that have the bar in them, real heavy duty wardrobe boxes. I wouldn't do that. It's on a hanger. Cool. I'm going to throw a trash bag over it, and I'll deal with it later. But so understand these are the differences. Okay. So your move dates, you need to schedule a minimum 3 weeks, 6 weeks during peak season, mid-May through August. The reason being is the number of moves and people moving, right? That's, again, why I say you kind of got to be on top of this. You really can't wait till last minute. You might get lucky. You really might. No, this isn't a Jew. Somebody on YouTube asked if this was a Jewish stream. It is not a Jewish stream at all. But, we accept everybody, and I know it's the first day of Hanukkah, so, happy Hanukkah to those out there again. But no, not a Jewish stream. Anyway, so be on top of it. The sooner out you can schedule it if you know your date, especially for pickup. Maybe you don't know your delivery date quite yet, but you're kind of like, or the destination. Go ahead and get that scheduled. Why not? Right? That way it's there, it's ready to go. Get your points of contact, right? Get points of contact before packup. All right, that seems really obvious, but the transportation service provider, the TSP, your moving coordinator, and the thing about printing this out is it leaves spots for you to write this in on this checklist, right? Your origin quality assurance inspector, your destination quality assurance inspector. So they have somebody come and basically inspect your move, right? Hey, how was the move? How's everything going? Did they do everything okay? Do you have any concerns? And then the Navy Household Goods Contact Center, and they have that information. Day of move issues, if you cannot reach your quality assurance inspector, you need to contact the Navy HHG Contact Center, okay? Now, prior to pack and pickup day, there are things that you need to do. And knowing that will help you. It will help you be prepared. It won't be as hectic. I mean, it's going to be hectic, right? They're packing up all your stuff, and there's going to be boxes everywhere. And it's not like one guy or gal coming in and packing your stuff. It's a team of people. Like, they're going to knock this out in a day or two. All right. It's a lot of moving parts. So prior to the pack and pickup days, here are some things that you need to do. Movers will contact you to perform a pre-move survey no less than 3 days prior to the scheduled pack or pickup day. If they do not, you need to contact them. That survey is so that they make sure that they bring what they need. They bring enough materials. They know any major large items that you have to move, things of that nature. Okay. If you don't hear from them at least 3 days prior to your scheduled pickup date, contact them yourself. All right. Don't just be like, well, they'll show up. Contact them. Make sure that they're going to show up with what they need. All right. Know your authorized weight allowance. Recommend purging unwanted items. Again, we talked about that weight allowance. Knowing that is good. Purging unwanted items. Look, every time you move, you're going to find stuff. Be like, oh man, I haven't seen that in years. Cool. Get rid of it. Have a yard sale. Make a little money. We did that because we just, there were some things we need to get rid of. And again, we weren't really close on our weight, but understand that that's something that you should do, consider doing that, obviously prior to. Secure essential items in a locked room or car. So important documents, jewelry, medicine, etc. This is just for safety. Okay. It's a moving company. I've dealt with a lot of movers, and most of the time, like they're great people, but I mean, people are people. Okay. Don't have like cash laying out on a table or expensive jewelry. Like lock that stuff up, because you're responsible for it anyway. You don't want it moved, right? Ensure your residence is tidy, right? I get it. You're moving. What do they mean? Ensure your residence is tidy. Well, it's going to become untidy very quickly. But for the most part, they need to be able to get in and move around and be able to pack things, and get things, into boxes and start, that pack out process. So, make sure it's a little tidy, make sure they can get through and do what they need to do. Right. It says recommend children and pets be with neighbors, sitters, if possible. Pets must be secured, outside or in a secure room or crated in some way. These movers are going to be in and out, in and out, in and out. You don't want your pets running out the door. Some people are not receptive of animals, or they're afraid of like dogs. So, that's just courtesy. It really is. It's not like you have to board your dogs, but they need to be secure. And the kids thing is really just so, for lack of a better term, they're out of the way, I guess. There's a lot of moving parts. All right. Recommend Ziploc bags for items taken apart, nuts, bolts, screws, etc., and place in the parts box. False. I disagree with this. Okay. So here's my experience. This is something that I would highly, highly suggest to everyone. My wife said they were all really nice as I asked questions, but I could not be in every room at the same time. Again, this is a team that's coming in. So you may have, like, let's say you have a 2-story home like we did. There were people upstairs packing. There were people downstairs packing. You can't be with every single one of them. The Ziploc bags thing, I agree, but I would change putting it in the parts box. So on your inventory, there's a parts box. That parts box is for any, screws, nuts, bolts, stuff like that, that were dismantled. And that includes, like, let's say your bed or bed frame. They will come in and dismantle that. You do not have to. They're going to take those bolts, stuff like that, and they're going to put them in a parts box. The reason the Ziploc bag is, you can write on it like what it goes to, so that you don't just have random parts, or you have a bunch of different screws and you're like, well, I don't remember what this went to. What I would highly suggest to any of you, and what I did on some things and not all of them, and I wish I would have, is if you take a shelf down or something that has specific screws, put the screws in a Ziploc bag, label it. I would highly suggest that you tape it to the underside of it, or tape it to that item securely. That way, when that item is unpacked, it's with the item. You're not trying to search through this parts box or get things out of your way. That is just a tip from me, one that I would highly suggest. Tape that Ziploc bag to the item, to the shelf, whatever you disassembled. In my opinion, that's a lot better to do. All right. It says confirm all electronics and appliances are in working order and ensure packing moving crews annotates that on your inventory. Exceptions include washing machines, refrigerators, freezers, or other items that may need to dry out. So washing machines, stuff like that, hey, don't use it the morning of. All right. You need to dry it out. It needs to drain, because it may go into storage for a while. It may be sealed up. All right. You're going to get must, mold, stuff like that. Same with refrigerators. I have multiple because of my bar. I have small refrigerators in the house, had one in the garage. You have to defrost those. You need to dry them out, air them out, so that, again, for the same reasons. Dispose of any food that will spoil or could cause damage to your shipment. Again, that would be like vegetable oil, stuff like that, if it leaks, and anything that's going to spoil, don't don't ship a bushel of apples, I guess. So another thing that Petty Officer Olds just mentioned is buy air tags and place them in important boxes. That's a good idea. I never thought of that. That's a good one. So if there's, something really important that you want, because look, once they move this into your house, I mean, there's boxes everywhere. So if you want something specifically quickly, having an air tag where you could find the air tag and know exactly what box that is, that's a smart one there, Petty Officer Olds. I appreciate that. That's a good idea. Never even thought of that. If you have the means to do it, do it. Here's a big one that you have to do, though. You need to remove all items from walls. Pictures, mirrors, curtains, curtain rods, wall-mounted TVs, and etc. It is your responsibility. Now, they will pack them. They'll pack everything. They'll pack your wall-mounted TVs, your wall mounts. They'll pack all your pictures, your shelves, all of those things. But you are responsible to take them off the wall. They will take nothing off of the wall, all right, just because of damage and stuff like that, okay? So that's, again, where it comes into putting those specific screws or whatever with that shelf. Attach it with it, make sure it's there, okay? So you are responsible to do that. Remove all items from the walls. Now, if you want it in a certain room, you can leave it in that room, like on the ground. It'll get packed in whatever way. It'll be labeled that it goes in that room. That's fine, because most moving companies, what they do is they pack a room and those boxes are inventoried, but then they're labeled, living room, master bedroom, boys room, girls room, garage, whatever. Okay. That way, when you get it, they know where to put it, or you can tell them, hey, anything that's labeled that, put in this room. All right. Remove all items from attics and crawl spaces. They're not going to do that. If you have stuff up in an attic or down in a crawl space, they are not going to climb up there and get it down for you. That's your responsibility as well. Empty and clean all trash cans before movers arrive. This is just kind of obvious to me, I guess. Take your trash out, clean your trash can. You don't want it to be shipped and packed and be gross, and then when you unpack it, it's just disgusting. I mean, unless you're a disgusting person, so whatever. Separate professional books, papers, and equipment. Okay, again, this is that pro gear we were talking about. If there's specific stuff to your job that is considered pro gear, you need to separate that. They will box it separately if you are not carrying it with you, if it's being shipped. But you have to designate what is pro gear and what is not. Okay. And again, there are descriptions on the different websites as to what pro gear is. So you should separate it. Dispose of propane tanks. They are not authorized to be shipped or stored, or ship them yourself, right? Look, man, propane tanks are expensive. I can't take them to Spain, but I have a couple for heaters, stuff like that, moved them myself. But again, that depends on what you are able to do, all right? Ensure all engine-powered equipment is ready to be shipped. Again, we were talking about this. Free of dirt, grease, drain the fuel, disconnect the batteries, cables, spark plugs, stuff of that nature. Plastic tubs and totes. Movers have the right to repack any item they feel may need protecting. Good. So you can have packed things, and it depends on the company, because here's the thing. A lot of times they have to repack it. The ones that were with us said that they had to, which was fine. And a lot of that has to do with liability, or they have to list that it was self-packed. The reason being is, okay, well, you've packed this yourself, and then they move it, and then you had stuff in there that was broken. You know it was broken. Not saying that you would be dishonest, and then you're claiming it on that company. So a lot of times, the reason it says they have the right to repack it if they feel that it needs to, well, really, it's just to make sure that it's packed properly by their standards so that they're not liable, okay? Create your own electronic inventory, photos, videos, or create your own list of items. Date stamp, take extra precautions to video most precious belongings prior to the pack out, okay? Understand that it's being moved. These are professional movers. Things happen, okay? Things happen. We didn't have, a lot of things that were broken or anything like that. I mean, look, they packed up my son's Lego sets, like built Lego sets. And I mean, really, there wasn't much I had to do to put them back together. I just assumed that those were going to be annihilated when I got them out of the box, and they weren't. But things do happen. Okay, so just be aware of that. Or if there's something that is very delicate or precious to you, you might point it out to the movers. They can be empathetic, and they'll take extra care of it or whatever, but do that, right? All right. So during the move, let's talk about during the move, right? What happens? Okay. So they're going to come in and they're going to be packing all this out. You have to be there. All right. It's important that you're there. If you're not there when they tell you to be there, it's an issue, and that could incur extra cost. All right. Movers will arrive on pack and pickup days between 8 and 5. Now, it depends. Hopefully, you're talking to your local crew. Most of the time, they'll give you a call. They'll let you know roughly what time they're going to be there. They're going to work until the work is done, or until the end of the day. All right. So there is a very good chance that they'll be there all day. Movers must ask prior approval from you or the representative and be completed by 9 p.m. So they can work till 9, but only with your approval. And it says your representative. So for instance, myself, right? I set up the move. I'm the one on the orders. I listed, because I knew my wife was going to be the one there. So I list her as a representative. You can list another family member, things of that nature. It can be done, but they have to be listed. They have to talk to those specific people. Okay. Secure essential items. We already talked about that. Movers use new packing material on linens, bedding, etc., and like new materials on all other items. They may have recycled boxes or packing materials, but I mean, every time I've been moved, it's been new stuff. When it comes to linens, beds, stuff like that, I mean, they put your mattresses and stuff in mattress bags. Like I said, these are professional movers. All right. High value inventory, be specific. List make, model, and serial number of each item. You decide what to place on the high value inventory sheet, but again, it gave you kind of a reference, right? Movers must provide you with copies of inventory sheets, including high value inventory. All right, so what that looks like, let me pull back up the camera here. What that looks like, I have them setting here. It is going to be a stack of papers. All right. And it's an inventory sheet. This is going to be kind of hard to see, but it's an inventory sheet. It shows all the cartons, all the boxes, all the things. Not everything goes into a box. Some things, big things, couch, whatever, but it's going to be listed. It's going to be numbered. They're carbon copied because after it's packed, you're going to get an inventory list that goes with you. And then when they come to drop it off, they're going to have the other inventory list. And you're going to go through and check off the inventory list and make sure that it's all there. This is a big one. If possible, the next one is, if possible, have help on packing and loading days. Review each box before it is sealed. You can add details to any box, i.e. instead of kitchen items, state kitchen items bakeware. Okay, so having help is important. Like my wife said, she couldn't be in every place at once. So her parents were there that day. If you have people there, that aren't in the way but can kind of help with that, because they're going to label it very just basic, right? Living room, master bedroom, master bathroom, stuff like that. Tipping, you are not required to tip or provide food and drinks. It is at your discretion. And in fact, I will tell you that there is another form that says tipping is discouraged. And for tipping and food and drinks, it actually says that if the local company asks, that you need to report it. Okay. Now, it's discouraged to tip them with money. If it's a big pack out or a difficult pack out and, you have a bunch of people working there, you want to be nice, maybe get them lunch, whatever, get a big Subway, platter, whatever. Hey, look, I guarantee that they will appreciate it. And, they are packing all of my stuff. I'm sure they're going to be professional anyway, but if I'd say, hey guys, I'm going to provide you lunch today, maybe they'll be a little extra careful. I don't know. Plus it's just nice. I mean, it is their job though. So you are not required to do that. Okay. Now, while it's in transit, your arrival date, if there is a change, you need to contact the TSP immediately. Okay. If there's a change to that arrival date, let them know. But if your stuff gets to where you are or where it's supposed to go before you get there, you have the option to put it in storage for up to 6 months. So then what they do is they take it, they drop the whole shipment off, it's stored until you schedule, like, hey, I'm going to be there. Can I have it delivered on this date? That's what happened to us. It literally got there like 2 days later, and they called us and said, hey, we're ready to deliver your stuff. Great. Well, we're not going to be there for like another 10 days. So it went into storage, and once it went into storage, we just called and said, hey, have it delivered on this date. No problem. They showed up the day that we wanted them to be there early in the morning with all of our stuff. All right. So it talks about shipment delays, but, and then we'll go into delivery day. But again, there are different guides, with, like the 10 steps, the things that you need to log into, which are pretty much the things that we went through. Day or days before pack out arrive, what should you do? So again, the household goods list is getting ready to talk about on delivery day. Done with this. We're going to wrap this up here pretty quick because it's getting kind of long, but I feel like this gets overlooked a lot. It's a lot of information, and hopefully it's going to be helpful to people. So before, what should you do? You're going to receive numbers, know your weight. Children and pets. No, this is the stuff. This says before the packers arrive. Nope. We already know that. We already went over that. Get out of here. Real quick, there is a personal property quick reference guide. Preparing for your move days, your delivery days. Again, a lot of the same info, just laid out differently. But here's a big one that I want to go over before we get into the delivery. Conducting a Navy personally procured move. That's if you move it yourself. Okay. You need to determine your eligibility, determine how you're going to do it, your authorized weight, your estimated weight, determine the cost for reimbursement. There's on the site, you can type all this in. It'll give you this information. You need to organize it. You need to execute it. You need to obtain weight tickets. So you need to take it. You need to find somewhere where you can take it, get it weighed specifically. You need the weight of the truck empty, and you need it with all of your goods in it. And you have to have weight tickets to show that. Those have to be turned in. Once you have all that, you submit your PPN settlement, and then you just check your claim status, and then you will get reimbursed for that move. That's if you decide to move it all yourself. It's a little bit, I don't want to say necessarily more simple. There's less steps to it, obviously, because you're doing it yourself. But there's just less to it, right? You don't got to take the stuff off the wall the day before or whatever. I mean, you're the one moving it. You're the one packing it. But again, there are specific things that you need to do, how to plan it. So if that's more of like your speed or what you would want to do, you can definitely look that up. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the delivery day a little bit and be kind of it. On the delivery day, movers will arrive on delivery day again between 8 and 5. Movers must ask prior to, to work up to 9. During delivery, ensure jewelry is moved to a locked vehicle safe. Same thing, right? You have your stuff with you, move it. The other thing it didn't list up here prior to, and we'll talk about it prior to it getting there, and my wife had mentioned this as well. So there are things that you're going to want to keep back outside of just your specific, high value items, jewelry, stuff like that. An air mattress, whatever, things that you're going to be able to fit into your car, things that you want to keep back for you, maybe a couple plates, pot, pan, whatever. Okay. You need to section those things off somewhere. Find a spot in a room, or a specific room if there's a room that's empty, and the day of your move, get all of that in that area or in that spot and mark it off and let them know none of this goes. Okay, that way it doesn't get packed. But she had made a point, and I think it's a really good one, that a possibility of things getting overlooked are cleaning materials, basic stuff, vacuum, broom, whatever, because you still have to take care of your house when you leave, right? And what I mean by that is hey, they're going to take everything out of there, and then you're leaving, you're moving out. So when you move out of a place, you need to clean it. Unless you feel like hiring a cleaning crew or something like that, you need to make sure that you have what you need to be able to take care of that. Maybe it's stuff that you just go ahead and throw away, or make sure that you're thinking about that, so you have friends or family that bring stuff over to help you, because if it gets packed, you're kind of out of luck. And it really just depends too, because I will say that our last move, we got a little lucky, right? So we had my truck. I did pay for a car hauler, a car dolly. We had my wife's car. So we had a lot of extra room. We kept back more than probably most would, because we have the entire bed of my truck. Nobody's driving her car. We can pack the car down completely. to the roof, so you got to think about those things. If it's going to be 14 days before you move, unless you're planning on going and staying in a hotel or staying at a friend's house or whatever, you need to make sure that you set aside these things that you may need. All right. Seems simple, but it's important. Okay. All right. So on your delivery day, during the delivery, ensure those are locked up. Know where you want property placed. You are authorized a one-time placement of property. Okay. So if they come and they deliver your couch and you say, hey, I want it in this room, you can't call them 2 days later and say, hey, I really want that couch in this room. Oh, no, one-time placement. So, you get there before, how your boxes are going to be labeled, and you need to have kind of a plan of where you want them to move it, because again, professional movers, they're coming in, they're bringing this stuff in, they're rattling off these numbers, and you have that inventory sheet. They're going to come in, they're going to give you a number. You need a verified number, you need to check it off. If you don't hear them, you need to make sure that you say, hey, hold on, say that again, because you have to check off that entire inventory. And if there's something missing, like it needs to be known, right? And then you just kind of need to know where it goes, right? Have an idea of where you want it to go. Movers are required to unpack all boxes. I love that it says movers are required to unpack all boxes. If you request it, they're required to unpack all boxes. Cartons and crates. For a full unpack, no boxes left behind. You will need to foot stomp that you require full unpack service. Monitor the unpacking to ensure careful handling and limited damage by movers when placing items in your home. Items will be placed on a clean, flat surface, not in specific cupboards, drawers, shelves, etc. Movers are not contractually obligated to return to pick up boxes after they leave. So what this is saying is they will come in, you have all these boxes. They will take everything out of the box. Let's talk like your kitchen, right? You have all your dishes, cookware, all that. They will take it all out of the box and either set it on the floor, on the counter, or on the table. They are not going to go in and put it in your cabinets. What that does is then they take all the boxes, the packing materials, they take it with them. Then you don't have to worry about that. The downside is then if you have a lot of stuff, you have stuff everywhere, right? So we didn't do that. What we did were like more of like the bigger items. Had them remove that to take some of the boxes with them so that we could slowly unpack it and put things away. A little easier, even though there's still a ton of boxes. But understand that they are required to do a full unpack if you request it and take everything away, because if they don't do it that day, they are not obligated to come back. And then it just kind of depends on where you're living, whether you have to schedule an extra pickup to get rid of all that, you have to take it somewhere, you have a ton of boxes, all these moving materials that then you have to get rid of. But they are required to if you request it. If you waive unpacking, movers are not required to return to pick it up. And in fact, they have you sign a thing stating that you didn't want, a full unpack. They are required to reassemble any items disassembled at origin. So bed frames, right? If it like sofa beds, anything like that, they have to disassemble to ship. They are required to reassemble it, not you. Okay, so they will reassemble that. They have to. Don't sign blank forms. Looks pretty obvious. Mark each item off the inventory. We just talked about that. If items are missing, damaged on delivery day, make sure to list it in the loss and damage at delivery form. There's an at and an after. Okay, and then it goes into claims. I think that, we've kind of been going on for a bit, and that's getting from here to here, and a lot of the resources, again, Military One Source, claims for loss and damage. I'll tell you that I'm doing one right now. So why don't we go ahead and shift that to next week? Because this has already been a little bit longer than I expected. But it's a ton of great information. So while in transit, setting it up, getting it moved, again, just some of my tips, stuff like that. And then what we'll do next week is we'll have a little bit of a shorter episode on like claims for loss and damage and how that works. I will tell you that next week on Thursday, I have a Chiefs Mess like holiday party, and I don't know that I'd be back by 4. So we're actually going to move next week to Wednesday at 4 next week. All right. So again, we're going to get ready to roll into bonus content, but you're here on Behind the Helm, episode 4. We just went over a CONUS move within the United States. Talking about how to set it up, the resources that are available, some of the things you need to do, some of the stuff that, like, say, me and my wife noticed that is just good information for you to have, and what you need to watch for and where you can get some of this information. So I really hope between last week, looking at your orders, and that this will help some people with their move. And if you know anybody who's getting ready to move or whatever, send them this. Say, hey, look at this on Behind the Helm, and hopefully it might help. Because look, I don't know about y'all, but I hate just reading stuff. So having somebody tell me is a lot easier for me, but that's the type of learner that I am. For those of you who are listening on the podcast after the fact, this is where it ends for you. Thank you so very much for listening. But if you want to see the bonus content that we're going to talk about, make sure you go check it out on YouTube or Facebook, because it's always available after the fact. All right, so I'm going to leave you there, and we're going to jump right into bonus content right now. For those of you that are viewing, whether it's after the fact or live, let's talk about some bonus content. There's something going on this Saturday that's kind of important. Well, to some of us, all right? It's the Army-Navy game. The Army-Navy game is this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be televised on CBS, and it's at Gillette Stadium up in Massachusetts. So that's where it'll be. So first and foremost, I want to show you some videos. We'll kind of talk about it, talk about the hype videos, which one was better, stuff like that. But I thought it'd be a cool thing to show you again. Army-Navy, that's happening this Saturday. And I will tell you that, honestly, I was really surprised that I couldn't find a lot of videos. Normally every year there's a lot of videos that I can pull up and show, and but I don't know. So first and foremost, obviously I'm in the Navy, so we're going to, I just want to show you a video that is for Navy athletics, and it is called This Is Navy Athletics. So let's take a look at this video. every year when they have the Army-Navy game, the big thing is their uniforms. What uniform are they going to be wearing? What does it represent? And the Navy this year are doing silent service, and it has to do with sub. It's a short video showing it. It's only a minute long. It doesn't really give too much history where the Army one does, but it's pretty cool. So if you were interested to know what the Navy is going to be wearing for the Army-Navy game, here it is.
From the depths of the sea stands a vigilant guardian in the shadows. Ensuring that freedom and peace prevail. A silent service.
I mean, so what do you all think of that? I will tell you that I said it, I've already seen things about it. So there's a submarine on the side of the helmet, and at the wrong angle, let's just say there's a lot of jokes. There's a lot of jokes, all right? But it's cool. It's like the all black, like the subservice thing's pretty cool, right? What I like about the Army when they do their uniforms is, it's unit based, and they kind of give you the history of that unit. So this video is a little bit longer. It's 3 minutes long, but their uniform this year for the game is based on the 3rd Infantry Division. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. And then I just have to show you 2 hype videos, and then I'll ask you your predictions for the game, and I'll give you my prediction, and then we'll see if I was right next week. So here is the Army's uniform for the Army-Navy game. Again, it is the 3rd Infantry Division. Check this out.
I wouldn't give a bean to be a fancy pants Marine. I'd rather be a dog-faced soldier like I am. So they're tearing me down to build me over again. I'm just a dog-faced soldier with a rifle on the shoulder. Ready for whatever comes my way.
So we're all by ourselves in the middle of the Udari Desert, nothing to do but trains. Again, 24/7, you got no place to go. We were developing a common visualization of how we would kind of do things.
The 3rd Infantry Division is one of the oldest and most decorated divisions in the United States Army. Their tactical competence during the invasion of Iraq in 2003 added to their legacy. The soldiers in the 3rd Infantry Division are known as dog-faced soldiers. Their determination in the face of adversity lived up to that moniker. They led the longest and most rapid armored advance since World War II through the Iraqi capital city of Baghdad, with 2 surprise attacks that today are better known as Thunder Run.
The conclusion we came to was like, look, I can't out-Baghdad the Iraqis. There's like no way I can know it better. What I can do is I can outfight them and I can out-decide them. If I can penetrate them and get behind them, then they don't have a plan to turn around and fight backwards.
That fearless mindset was in every soldier in the 3rd Infantry Division. The first Thunder Run was all about audacity, concentration, surprise, and tempo. Armored and mechanized formations provided the ability to penetrate enemy territory. Before Saddam's forces could recover, the second Thunder Run came in and drove straight into the heart of Baghdad, proving the Army could go anywhere at any time. These efforts from those dog-faced soldiers during the Thunder Runs demonstrated their competence, selfless service, and honored the legacy established by the division 125 years ago as the Rock of the Marne. On December 9th, Army football will follow a similar game plan that the 3rd ID set 20 years ago on enemy soil. In America's game, we look to honor those dog-faced soldiers that gave everything to defend our great nation. Go Army, beat Navy.
It's a really good video, and I like that they do their divisions, and different things. They give you a little history of it. Now, normally every year there are like hype videos about what their Navy to Army, stuff like that. Now, I will tell you that I found a Navy hype video from Navy Athletics. However, there wasn't an Army one. There is an Army one from 10th Mountain Division, but I want to show you these. They're a little shorter, and then I'll just give you my take. Feel free to give your comments below about it, what you think, and then we'll get into predictions and we'll call it a night. So here is the 2023 Army Navy hype video from Navy Athletics. Let's take a look. So thoughts on it? I think it's a good hype video. I like the cinematics of it. Song's a good song. I don't know about for football, but all right, I guess. I mean, let the jokes keep coming. So the only Army one I was actually able to find was it's the only Army, like there wasn't one on the West Point page, but this is from the 1st Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division. And, I'll give you my opinions on it before I even play it. And my opinion is it says something about Navy, can you do this? And then go Army beat Navy, but it doesn't show anything about football. It just shows 10th Mountain Division doing 10th Mountain things. So, I mean, it's still a hype video, still call out. Let's check it out. My bad, I had it muted. mean,
is a lot of hype
don't get me
around
wrong.
it.
Like, it was a good video. You know, climb to glory, go for it, 10th Mountain. I mean, it was a really cool video highlighting 10th Mountain, but I don't know, didn't really have anything to do with the game, so or the football team. But that's all right. You know, normally there's a lot of videos, and I'm sure there will be probably tomorrow and definitely Saturday. You know, keep an eye out on Facebook and YouTube and stuff. I'm sure there'll be like some shout out videos from different places. So normally there is. And for whatever reason, there just really isn't right now. But there's not. So ELE, I guess, everybody love everybody. But that game will be Saturday at 3 p.m. Again, it's on CBS. It'll be on CBS. I think it'll also be probably a lot of other places you can watch it too. It's in Gillette Stadium. It should be I think Army is favored slightly a little bit more, but my prediction is it's going to be a low scoring game. And score, I think obviously Navy's going to win. I have to go with Navy. And score, I'm going to go 24 to 14 Navy over Army. That's my prediction. Navy wins 24 to 14. So anyway, thank you guys who stuck around for bonus content, or if you're watching it afterwards, make sure you go back and watch, share the feed. Hopefully, if you know anybody who's going to be moving soon, be some good information for them. Thanks to all of you who stuck around, or any of you that are still out there now. Like I said, next week I'll be back on Wednesday at 4 p.m. I'll make sure to post about it just because it's something that I have going on. But we'll talk about the claims process, be a little bit shorter episode. And again, just thank you guys so very, very much. And, you know, hey, have a great weekend. Till next time. See ya.